Hello, everyone. I'm here with Stacy Cook from Mighty Oaks Therapies. She is an occupational therapist and also a homeopath. Today, we're going to talk about homeopathy, and we're going to talk about what homeopathy is, because a lot of people don't understand what homeopathy is. They think that it's just natural healthcare in general. They kind of lump it into that category with supplements and herbs and essential oils and all these other things. Homeopathy is not that. So we are going to learn from Stacy, the homeopath, what homeopathy actually is, how it can benefit you, your kids, your family, all of that good stuff. So, hi Stacy, thanks for joining us today. I'm good. I'm super excited to be chatting with you. I've worked with Stacy a few times with some issues with my son Shannon, who's 1, and helping him with some respiratory things that he's got going on. And he's got a genetic condition called chronic inflammatory response syndrome. So she's been helping with that and having really good results. So I wanted to, kind of let you all learn from the master here on what homeopathy can do for you. So,
Master.
yes, you are the
You
master.
talk to any homeopath and they'll say, I'm always a student. We're always learning. It's such a big undertaking because it's just big. I'll talk more about that. But yes, thank you for having me. I am glad to talk about homeopathy. I find that most people, when I say the word, do you know what homeopathy is? Or they're interested in the word, but they don't really know what it means.
Yeah.
Many people have assigned it to natural medicine, which is correct, but it kind of gets lumped under a heading of, oh, yeah, I use essential oils, which I fully support, but it is not that. People also may think that it's like herbal supplements. It is not that. It's its own medicinal system. It came around in the late 1700s. A doctor in Germany created this system of medicine kind of by accident. He was unhappy with the current state of the medical system, and he started looking at alternatives to treat his patients as he was doing research. He had several jobs, but kind of came back around to when he found this wonderful system of medicine. It just blew up from there. But I find that where we live, people just really need education about it. I myself knew nothing when I first, I'd say, I don't even know how many years ago, but when I went to school to become a homeopath, I still remember the teacher was like, who knows what arnica is? And I was like, hand down, you don't know what arnica is? And I was like, I have no idea. But my experience in my background, I work with kids with autism. I have a background, well, I'm an OT, an occupational therapist. I work with kids with sensory processing disorders and developmental delays. And in that background, when I saw the effects of it, I knew, I was like, wait a minute, what is going on? You've been able to push through some real obstacles with these kids medicinally and safely that I would never be able to do that as a therapist, treating you kind of from the outside. You're using a biomed. What is going on? So that's how I got to into homeopathy. But it's a system of medicine. It uses plant, mineral, or animal substances. An example of an animal substance might be the milk of a cow. That's an animal substance. An example of a plant could be, a weed growing outside. I have a flower on my porch right now called cyclamen. That's actually really useful for female issues, but it's growing out there. But they made that into a remedy. That's a plant remedy. A mineral remedy could be sulfur. It could be anything on the periodic table, copper, gold. Any of those can be used as mineral remedies.
So,
And
do you want to talk about how the remedies are made and how they're different from supplements so people understand, like, if I'm taking gold, there is you can take colloidal gold, but that's not the same as a homeopathic gold.
good segue. So, what separates homeopathy is two things: succussion and dilution. So, homeopathy is energetic medicine. It dabbles in nanoparticles. It is nanoparticles, right? The energy of a substance. So Can you drink cow's milk in a glass and get a homeopathic remedy out of it? No. So what they do is they take this remedy and dilute it down. So it's succussion and dilution. I'll tell you what those are. They take a remedy. A substance. They may take 1 drop of cow's milk or 1 drop of cyclamen plant or 1 drop of sulfur and add it to however many drops. It depends on the potency you want to start with. Let's say 99 drops of a purified alcohol water dilution, okay, or substance. That's 1 out of 100. That's a potency there. And then they keep diluting that substance down to where there are no original particles left, depending on how high of a potency you want to go. And that's something that's interesting about homeopathy is the less you have of the original substance, the original plant, the more potent the remedy is. And the reason why is, I like to give people a visual. So if you put 100 marbles tightly in a jar, right, and you shook those marbles, that kinetic energy, you could see it moving around, but it wouldn't make too much noise. It would just barely be, but you could shake it as hard as you want, and you would see the motion and the energy in there, but you wouldn't get to see some crazy amount of energy going on. You put 1 marble in that jar and you start shaking it, it's loud, it's obnoxious, it's moving, you can see the movement of it. There's a lot of kinetic energy in there. That's a way I like to try to explain. People are like, what? Less is more? Yes, that's one of the principles.
I love that analogy. That's a good analogy.
I took a while to try to figure out how can I explain this. It's so, and that's the best I could come up with. So I'm glad that helps you.
Good.
So when you dilute the substance, right, you're left with the energy of the substance as opposed to the
frequency pattern. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so it's an energetic medicine. You go from there, you put the potencies, and again, that's dilution part of homeopathy. The succussion part is just moving that energy before you take the remedy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. That's awesome. So yeah, it's usually either in liquid or those little pellets, and it's just the remedy, like 1 drop put to the outside of the pellets, and then.
Yeah, so some remedies can come in like they're already in a liquid form.
Mm-hmm.
You can take them under the tongue. I work a lot with kids, so I have to have the parents drop them in like a ½ ounce of water, so they just get like 1 sip and they're done. And the kids run down the hall. They got their medicine for the day. But yes, they do come in, a pellet form. I tried to get one that's a little more see-through. Can you see the little pellets in there?
Yeah. They're little tiny.
Yeah, sucrose pellets. Mm-hmm. And they drop the substance on the pellets. You can shake them, move them around, get the substance coated on the outside of the pellet. That's what makes homeopathic remedy so easy to take, is that when they're made out of sugar pellets, right? The substance is on the outside. So I have kids who I work with that have oral aversions. As long as they get that pellet under the tongue, that substance, the remedy is on the outside of the pellet. Yeah. Even if they get the pellet out enough, the remedy has gotten into their body. So
they're really easy to give to kids. Shannon is such a good little supplement taker. Like, he loves taking homeopathics.
I love it.
So as soon as I take out the bottle, he gets super excited and he's like, ah. So yeah, he thinks it's like a treat or something. I don't know, but he's all about it.
Maybe he just knows what his body needs at that
time. And exactly. I mean, he'll drink, this kid, and I'm specifically trying to do this, make sure that he has a very diverse palate, but he'll drink herbal tea, and he'll, eat things that a lot of adults won't eat, he'll eat bone marrow, he'll drink bone broth, he eats salmon and all these other things. And people are like, how do you get your kid to eat and drink all these things? I'm like, because this is all I give him. I don't give him candy or sugar or anything like that. So this is all he knows for now.
That's good. I first heard you talk about what you are able to get down him. I was very impressed.
Yeah, he loves it. He thinks it's all great. So I'm going to ride that train for as long as I can. So let's talk about some events, like you talk about the Spanish flu and stuff like that, homeopathy has been really beneficial for throughout history.
I've seen a lot of stuff in the news lately. Just they're bringing up past epidemic events like the Spanish flu. You know, that one is very memorable because it hit home with a lot of countries that had fast-growing media outlets at the time. You know, people were getting the word around. It was worse than I think the bubonic plague was in the 1300s. You know, it killed more people than at that time.
Mhm.
Um, so it was very impactful. There's no number. I was just researching it this morning. There's no specific number on how many people, you know, passed away from, you know, such a big epidemic. I mean, the numbers were as low as 15,000 to 50,000, I guess, here in America. Um, so I never go off those numbers. But what's interesting is that homeopathy has a really great track record in epidemics. And I thought, you know, I'm not going to use this time to like say all these things. It's easily Googleable.
Googleable. Yeah.
Searchable on the internet. How about that? I don't even really use Google too much. So, but it's easily searchable on the internet. But you could literally put in there, you know, epidemics in homeopathy or Spanish flu in homeopathy, and you'll see some really great articles that they've cited of doctors, homeopaths, people who wrote about their cases back in the day that they've cited in modern literature,
Yeah.
and the success rates, and they're really pretty incredible. Like I was reading something this morning about pneumonia during the Spanish flu, like a complication, right, of people who were bedridden and had flu. Um, and I think like the success rate, you know, standard flu treatment was like, or mortality rate, sorry, was like 30%. And with homeopathy, it was like 1. I mean, like the numbers are very staggering.
Yeah.
And so that just goes to show, especially if in epidemics, you know, homeopathy can be really shown to be just, you know, not toxic, side effect free, very safe, and also just effective. Because I think that's what we're all looking for nowadays is what is the quickest path for me to get to where I want with my health, you know. And sometimes, you know, we have these things we have to backtrack and go get rid of, things we've done. I'm 42, things we've done for the last 42 years that we still got to kind of clear out of ourselves. But you know, we're looking for what's effective. And so I find that it truly is an effective medicine.
Oh yeah, and I've seen it be effective in myself and in my son and clients and, you know, stuff like that. Um, so I am truly a believer, and a lot of people say, you know, well, why, if this is so effective, then why don't they use this in hospitals and MDs and stuff like that? And it's like, well, first of all, it's super cheap, and so it's not a big money maker, you know. And if you can correct an issue oftentimes with one dose, then you're losing patients, you know. A well person doesn't make you a ton of money, which is a business flaw for you and I. You know, getting people well, and then they don't need us anymore. But our healthcare system is not a healthcare system, it's a sick care system. And doctors are great and they're needed, and there's many things that they can do for us, but the profession is really a, here's your diagnosis, here's your medication kind of profession. It's not really about, you know, nutrition or, you know, getting to the root cause of things or anything like that. It's a diagnose and prescribe profession, and that's fine. It's just the way that it is. So that's why homeopathy and, you know, nutraceuticals and food really isn't used, and it's not what they learn about in school, you know. So it's not the focus of the profession.
And you make a good point about diagnosis and prescribe. So that's also one of the things that sets homeopathy apart. It takes a lot of work for your homeopath to figure your case out. Um, you know, if you get a homeopath, you start seeing a homeopath, you want to add that to your path to wellness. You know, when you pay a fee for your homeopath to take your case, what you're paying for is really their time, because they're going to sit and listen. I can't tell you the last time I sat with a doctor and they just listened to me, you know, like
2.5, yeah.
I've had some good ones, but well, it's through no fault of them personally. It's the system.
It's the
You
system.
know, that's it. And so They're going to sit, they're going to listen, they're going to dig, because they need to get to, as you say in Minnesota, the root.
I know.
Texas,
I'll
the
never
root.
change. I'll never change.
Fine, I am enjoying it, but it's the root cause. So yeah, when you're trying to get to the root cause, you've got to really find the specific symptoms, the specific modalities, the specific, picture of the case to start a prescription of a remedy, right? And if we go in with the flu, for example, I'm just looking at some flu remedies that are kind of like often indicated in flu cases homeopathically, right? If you go to the doctor and they say, oh, swab came back positive, you got the flu, everybody who got swabbed is likely going to get the very same medicine. That is not what will happen in a homeopathic case taking. I'm looking at, let me just see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9. This is one of my little flow charts, but remedies I see right here that are very different how they manifest and how they heal. So a person who would get arsenicum album, who's chilly and has anxiety, keeps them up at night around midnight, it's not going to respond to bryonia for the way the person who needs bryonia would, right? So that's the important part about homeopathy. It's individualized medicine. It is for you. What does your body need, and how does your vital force, respond to that remedy? What potency do you need? It's like figuring it out. It's like a puzzle together.
I know, that's what I love about it. It's a puzzle. Same for me. Yeah, puzzle. We're detectives.
Yes.
In our own rights. That's great. So what other things are you doing with homeopathy in your practice? Like as an OT, I know that you work with a lot of kids and stuff like that with autism and sensory disorders and whatnot. You're frozen right now. Oh, now you're back.
Hello. I've been an OT for not quite 20 years. Is it 19 now? I cannot remember. And I remember the day a mom walked into the office I was working at, and she said, "Watch this." And she gave a little thing shaped like a microphone to her kiddo who doesn't speak. And she said something, and he immediately imitated her. And I was like, and she said something else. And I think it was the nanny that day who brought him in. And then mom was there at the end anyway. And I was like, what is going on? Why is he talking overnight? What is happening? Okay, so how many moms are ready for those kiddos to say something, to speak, right? And she said, I'm treating him homeopathically. I started researching him, blah, blah, blah. That was how it started. When I saw his changes, I started talking to other moms, just kind of feeling out. Anyone interested in delving in? I had 2 other moms who were like, tell me more about this.
Yeah.
I did research. I looked for homeopaths here in Texas. There used to be a school. It's since closed because, she retired. But I reached out to her, referred a client. This other mom who was interested, I referred her to the same homeopath my little friend was going to in Cali, because I was like, if there is this kind of change, biologically going on that, it's been the roadblocks we've been hitting.
Yeah.
And you're getting past that and knocking them down. Like, I want all of my moms to have access to this, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course.
So that's what started me. As I started referring them, and I saw not only did this kiddo, who I was introduced to it through, get affected so profoundly, this one, was no longer, he had autism, was no longer running away from mom in crowds and scaring her half to death. His awareness of danger came. This other one who had ADHD, within months, he no longer has that diagnosis. No longer. Yeah. I was like, what? So I said, I dropped everything. I was like, I am going to change my schedule so that I may enroll in school. My first year I had a school where I had to fly in. I changed, and then I did online after that, which was much better because I had kids I needed to see, so it was impacting my job. But it was worth it to me. I pushed through, and I was like, I'm going to do this, and I got through, and it was worth it because now I've gotten to introduce so many more moms because I myself can give out this medicine. And I have a kiddo who last July did not speak. I talked to them this week, 8-word sentences this week.
That's awesome.
8-word sentences. I want that, 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 and that, that, that. Like that's a compound sentence. Like to go from no language last July, and now it's what was March when we talked, to fully communicating with her mother what she wanted in many sentences and complex language. This is amazing stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah. In such a short, really a short amount of time, for like how much work goes into working with these kids and getting them even just like small baby steps forward is like a huge celebration and stuff like that, to get someone to go from no language to complex sentences within a matter of a few months. I mean,
Right.
that's monumental, really. So,
Yeah.
oh,
And I remember specifically feeling really focused on that particular case because there were no other medicinal influences going on. Like there might have been some behavior. She was taking some gummies for behavior. She doesn't take those anymore. No, like self-aggressive behavior. She doesn't take those gummies for that behavior anymore. And there was no other medicinal intervention going on. That's how the mom and I are attributing so much to just the remedy she was taking. That is the only intervention. She's not even in therapies right now during this whole time. So I know, I'm like, wow. Yeah.
that's awesome. That's super awesome. So how do
Little
people,
sugar pills do
yeah,
that.
who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought?
So how do people get in contact with you if they're wanting to see a homeopath for anything, or have their kids
Yeah.
see a homeopath for anything?
Mm-hmm. Um, well, I'll just say homeopaths can treat acutely. I don't just treat anyone who calls me and says, "Hey, I have the flu. Can you?" They have to be on my caseload. Like I need to know your background medically
Yep.
to make sure. You need to have your own doctor. I am not a doctor. Let's be clear about that. But I have people that are on my caseload that are treated acutely. Like if they got a really bad allergy bout during cedar season, they might call me and say, "Can you please help me? I'm miserable."
Yep.
To avoid trying to get an allergy shot, I mean, they're trying to do things a different way. You can treat acutely. You can do your constitutional case, like what that means, your personal picture of how it unfolds and what's kind of impacting that. The remedy will help with that. That's what we call constitutional prescribing. And then there's also homeoprophylaxis. You are with that, yes. Um, and so, what's that?
I said I love homeoprophylaxis.
Oh yeah, I mean that's basically introducing the body. So homeoprophylaxis is the use in my homeopathic world, the use of remedies exposed to a child who is new to the planet, newborn. You can start at any time, but if you start on the protocol, like if a pregnant mom were to contact a homeopath and they want to start right at the first remedy, if you do a protocol, starts at 2 weeks of life. So it's where you expose, and these are high potency, which means there's no substance left, in the remedy. It's energetic medicine, right? You expose to different pathogens, and so you don't have to necessarily do a vaccine if
Yeah,
your
it's
family.
an alternative.
Yeah, it's an alternative. Yep.
And that's what we're doing with Shannon, is the homeoprophylaxis, because I had his genetic panel done, and he has 3 different markers that show that he would have a vaccine reaction. So we're doing the homeoprophylaxis instead, which is proven to be extremely effective. And obviously this, like in India, Cuba, like some other countries, they're starting to, for some vaccines, use homeoprophylaxis instead, because they've seen that it's more beneficial. They get better results with it. So,
and that's been the whole trouble with the vaccine chat, is the piece where people are wanting to know, am I at risk? That's starting to come into view now, because now there are tests that can show, oh my goodness, in my line, we did epigenetic testing. There's an MTHFR epigenetic defect, COMT, all these different epigenetic SNPs, single nucleotide polymorphisms, that cause your body to not be able to detox correctly or process things correctly or clean the cells out correctly. And as that toxin load grows and builds up just by being this toxic work, right?
Yep.
The behaviors start manifesting. You know, you keep introducing vaccinations that have, let's say, you know, a pathogen, but then at the same time it has the adjuvants in there that your body cannot deal with.
Issue with adjuvants. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really an issue of, is your body biological terrain that can handle the vaccine? It's not about all vaccines are bad and all vaccines are good. It's not. That's not the argument. Yeah. So anyway, those are things that a homeopath that I can help with is homeoprophylaxis, constitutional prescribing, acute, cases. And my website is www.mightyoakstherapies.com. There are some other Mighty Oaks out there, but they have different names. So it's just mightyoakstherapies.com. And my contact information is on there. There's a number, there's an email. You can reach out that way. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, Stacy. It was so great to learn about homeopathy today. Mm-hmm. And if any of you are looking for more information, just like she said, check out our website, mightyoakstherapies.com. Or I bet they could just Google even just Stacy Cook. Stacy without an E.
STACY, that's right.
Yep. So yeah, or if anybody has questions, they can always contact me too, and I can point them in your direction.
Sure.
So thank you so much. This was so helpful and insightful and educational, all things that we needed. So
give Shannon a little hug.
Oh, I will. I'll give him a hug for you. So awesome. Well, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah.